I think it's safe to say when you say Assassin's Creed to the gaming community these days, it will be met with a resounding eye roll. But to be fair, it's somewhat warranted, given the fact that, as I've got examples here, that from about 2009 they were releasing game after game after game after game on an annual basis, and they did take some time off from the series from about 2015 for a couple of years, and they released the RPG trilogy, which again you could argue that it lost its sense of identity. But even from like the period when they were releasing the games annually, they had a consistent structure and soul to the games. Like, this is coming from someone who loves the RPG games, but I will be the first to admit that they kind of lost their charisma from the original games with AC Black Flag, which I'm talking about in this video. They just lost that overall structure. I mean, they were still open world games, but they were more concise with their structure. They weren't these bloated, over the top RPGs which took you a minimum 50 hours to finish. Some of them you could beat like in a weekend that were like 10 to 12 hours. Like Assassin's Creed 2 is a 12-hour game, for goodness sakes, which when Ubisoft addressed the problem with AC Mirage trying to go back to the sort of roots to the series, it was met with sort of resistance because the game was too short. And I remember when Mirage came out, I addressed it myself on social media thinking, this is how old AC games were. They were short. They weren't these bloated 100-hour games that I love personally. I love Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I know a lot of people don't, but I understand the reason why people don't like it, because people don't want to come home and play a game that requires at least like 4 hours to progress somewhere in the main story. Whereas if you play Black Flag, you can progress through most of the story without having to do side quests, you do have to upgrade like the Jackdaw, which I'll get into later on in the video. But you could just play through the story and enjoy it for what it is, and you could do it in all the old games. And they knew what they were, they understood the assignment, they had concise and well-written stories in each game, and I feel Black Flag was kind of like the last sort of hurrah in that old style of AC. And we got Unity the year after, which was a complete disaster at launch, and kind of made Ubisoft pivot off to do the RPG franchise, to reboot the franchise basically. And Syndicate was good, but it was more of the same. But people were starting to wane on the old style of Assassin's Creed. But these days, in 2025, at the time of recording this, I feel people want to go back to that old style of Assassin's Creed. And with rumors of a remake of Black Flag coming out, I think it's either the end of this year of 2025, but probably by the time this comes out, it's more likely even come out in 2026. Don't quote me on that. I feel it's a good time to go back to it. I've been replaying it myself recently, and because I picked up for cheap from CEX for like £8 physically on Xbox One, and I've just been having a blast with it. It's just one of those games that I feel was the last sort of old school hurrah of that era of gaming from like the 360 era, because it was a cross-gen game, launch title for the Xbox One and PS4, but came out on the 360 and the PS3 first, also the Wii U if you wanted to play it on that. Yeah, so let's talk about it. I'm gonna go and sit down so I'd have to stand up for the rest of the video. So what made Assassin's Creed 4 so special? I think after the lukewarm reception of Assassin's Creed 3, which was set in the American Revolution, which I'm going to be honest, probably wasn't the best choice for an Assassin's Creed game, because not to say it wasn't a pivotal moment in history, and specifically American history, but I feel it was probably quite a stale part of history to set an Assassin's Creed game in. I mean, when you usually think of like Assassin's Creed, you think sort of like ancient eras, you think of like the Middle East with the first game, or even the Renaissance period with the second game and Brotherhood. But I think Revolution in America probably wasn't the best decision, but I don't think people were expecting pirates in the Caribbean in the Golden Age of Piracy sort of era. That was the last sort of setting I was thinking on my list when Assassin's Creed 4 came out, because at that point with the games community and the industry, there weren't too many leaks. There weren't like people like talking to insiders, as they say these days, and it kind of came out of nowhere. But it fit the franchise so well, and it it's easily become like the most beloved game in the franchise. Edward Kenway, let's start with that, with the narrative. Um, Easily one of the best characters in the franchise. It's because throughout the game, he's not even an assassin. He's just doing what he's doing for his own financial and monetary goals to get riches, to have a better life with his wife, who is back in Swansea in Wales. And because he tried to sail with the King's Navy, he didn't like it. He became a privateer instead, which made him turn into a pirate because he got fed up with authority. You know how pirate stories goes, fed up with authority and go on a life of crime being a pirate. And he's quite a good character, but also morally he's not a nice person. But most of the time he'll try and solve things diplomatically through talking to people, but at the same time he's not afraid to get dirty and start killing people or beating them up. Like in the first instance, when you get to Havana, which is probably my favorite part of the game, you try and lay low in a tavern. Unfortunately, he gets recognized and he ends up starting a bar brawl where he gets a broken nose. It's quite an entertaining part of the game. But it just goes to show he's willing to get his hands dirty as a character. He's not afraid of confrontation through violence. But if he can find a way to solve a situation without violence through diplomatic means of speaking to people, he will do that. But just in general, like the characters you meet, which are based on real history, like Captain Ben Hornigold, Edward Fat, J.K. Blackbeard, all sorts of people in this game. It just shows that Ubisoft's attention to detail to history back then was just fantastic. Even still today, I would argue Ubisoft's attention to history with their research into different historical figures is still pretty on point, including the details of the world, which I'll get to in a minute. Going into the gameplay of Black Flag, the combat is it's more or less unchanged from Assassin's Creed 3, as it runs on the same engine. It's brutal, it's over the top. You can dual wield melee weapons, that sort of thing. You have 2 cutlasses by default. Of course, you have 2 flintlock pistols too by default, but you can also upgrade how many flintlock pistols you have. Through my current playthrough, I only had 4, but I think you can get up towards to 6 or 8 if you upgrade your pistol holsters, which is quite absurd. But also accurate to the period, because pirates would quite often, especially Blackbeard, if you see sketchings of Blackbeard, there are pictures of him where you'd have like 8 flintlock pistols on his chest, because basically back then flintlocks only had 1 shot and they took 10 minutes to reload. So basically you would have 6 or 8 shots through various pistols on your holsters on your chest, because otherwise if you had 2 or even just 1, you were kind of caught with your pants down if you shot off and missed. So they would have several chances. That's why these pirates would have several flintlock pistols on their person, so they could just basically be quite reckless with their shooting. But yeah, it's quite cool. You can upgrade Edward like that, even through health upgrades. It feels more organic as opposed to, I don't know, obtaining this gear in a chest, that sort of thing, because you have to hunt and craft through animal skins, that sort of thing. And you don't have to do the health upgrades. You can get through this game without doing it. It makes it more difficult, certainly. But I remember my first playthrough of the game when I did it a few years back, and I didn't upgrade Edward's health at all. It was amazing, that sort of thing. And the combat is just very visceral. It's over the top, and it's super, super violent, really violent. And when you finish off enemies, you think like, okay, Edward, that's enough. Because you just think, okay, I think you got the message through the first stab in the face. But it just fits with the sort of over the top recklessness you would expect from a pirate from that period, who just don't care. They're not really trained in combat at all. They're ruthless, they're barbaric, and it just works so well. And the gameplay also stems to the exploration and the pirate combat, and I'll get into that now. Right, the ship is the main mechanic in Assassin's Creed 4. It took the elements from the 3rd game and made it the central mechanic of the 4th game. As you're a pirate, you're mostly going to be sailing, pillaging goods from other ships, from the Spanish and the English, and just being a general scallywag. And who doesn't like to be a general scallywag? In video games, I might add, not in real life. Because obviously video games are the portal to do things that we wouldn't do in real life, of course. And anyway, the jackdaw is the central mechanic of the game. You can upgrade it through, as I said, pillaging enemy ships. And what I like about this is that it feels organic. It's not like, oh, there are just random ships dotted about. they'll be in different parts of the world where you would expect them to be in history, like in parts of Havana, in near Kingston, that sort of thing. And of course, the ships, they'll be fighting each other on the seas as well, which you can take advantage. So say a Spanish is fighting like a British man of war, you can get involved and help them out, because the man of wars are the highest level ships and they are the toughest because the amount of firepower they've got in them, which you could eventually add more firepower to your ship itself. You have chain shots, which disable the masts. You have the broadside cannons, which you can keep adding, which I think at the time of recording this, I have about 30 on each side of broadside cannons. You have fire barrels that come out the back, which can stop pursuing ships when you try and flee a fight. And you have mortars, which, of course, you can hit ships at long distances, and obviously they arc in the air like that. Once you get a ship to a certain amount of health, you can board it, and that's where you get on board. You can kill all a certain amount of the crew, as well as with certain other ships, they'll give you other stipulations like kill the scouts and the crow's nests, or you have to kill the captains or certain officers, and then you can choose to lower your wanted level, because if you destroy too many ships at once, you'll get a wanted level, and bounty hunters will start hunting you on the seas. So like the higher the wanted level, the worse the type of ship will be pursuing you. So it'd be like, at first you might have a schooner after you, then it'll be a brig, then obviously eventually it'll be a man of war, that sort of thing. So it adds a layer of consequence. Or you can, when you lower your wanted level, you will recruit the remaining alive members of that ship that you've pillaged onto your own crew. Or you can destroy it and repair the jackdaw, because your jackdaw will get roughed up in a fight, but the health won't regenerate. So you have to repair the jackdaw yourself. So that adds a layer of strategy too. Or you can add the boat to your fleet, which you can send off on like missions that you don't see yourself. It's not too dissimilar to the Assassin's contracts of AC Brotherhood, but you send them off doing different missions in different parts of the world in your own fleet, which means some of your crew will be disbanded to do said action. And it just feels great, because you feel like a legitimate pirate on the high seas in the 18th century. And of course, you could get your crew to sing sea shanties as you sail the high seas, and it just adds that sort of layer of immersion, and you can't help but laugh and smile with how absurd and over the top of it is. It makes me want to watch the Pirates of the Caribbean films again, where I've been playing this, because it's just so good. The music is also very Pirates of the Caribbean as well, with the sort of jaunty tunes, the over-the-top action sequences, and you just feel like Errol Flynn as you swing onto an enemy boat too, with the sort of ropes you swing on, and it's just that sort of over-the-topness. If any of you know who Errol Flynn is, if you're young enough, if you're too young to know that. But yeah, it just feels so good. Is it an Assassin's Creed game? You could argue not, because Edward, as I said, is not really an assassin throughout the entire game. He just steals an assassin uniform for his own sort of gain. For his financial gain to make more money, and that's kind of like the criticism for the later games, that they're not really assassins. And I was like, well, neither is Edward in this game. He only kind of develops a moral compass to become an assassin towards the end of the game, really, and that's his character arc. But the gameplay, the world still looks really, really good for a 2013 game. I played this on Xbox One X, but it's not One X enhanced by any means. And it's shocking how well this game is aged visually. It just looks incredible. The water in the game, which you're going to be looking at a lot, they put a lot of effort into it looking really good. The waves acting realistically. You get also, that's the other enemy when you're out sailing, is the weather, the climate conditions. You'll be intercepted by storms, by typhoons, that sort of thing. And again, it's just immersive. It's how much Ubisoft put into this project. And going back to the visuals for a 2013 game, the environments look incredible. The blue hues of the ocean throughout the Caribbean just looks incredible. The character models look pretty good. I mean, you can tell they're of that generation, but what helps sell the believability of the character models is the fact that they were motion captured during like the gameplay, during the cutscenes. That's all cinematically done, whereas in the RPG ones, there are cutscenes which are fully motion captured, but they feel a bit static and wooden because of the nature of role-playing games, where most of the dialogue is automated, so it's going to be a bit more static and and they just look like they've got a pole stuck up their backside in those games when they're in conversation, whereas in this one they sell the believability of them having a conversation because they're moving realistically. Like, they'll have like weird twitches even when they just scratch their face, which is just a normal thing, myself included, when I'm talking in this video to do. In conversation, we all have those sort of weird tics when we have conversations, and they have that in the cutscenes. It's just great. Like, even like in one cutscene when Edward just offers a bottle of rum to one of them, and he just does that. There's no like dialogue, he just does that, and there's a little weird twitch in his eye, which is pretty ahead of its time, considering this game was also on the Xbox 360 and the PS3. It's just nuts. The weather effects look good, as I said, the environments, the animations in combat, it just all still holds up 12 years down the line, and it's just nuts. And I kind of wish Ubisoft would just go back to a traditional Assassin's Creed game. They tried with Mirage. I liked that game, by the way, but I just feel people just want this massive open world game with hundreds of hours in them. And I get that games have gone up in price and people want their bang for their buck. But at the same time, I feel Ubisoft would do better if they went back to the roots of the series and produced open worlds still, but more concise and more focused open worlds, which aren't littered with icons. And that's the other thing with this game. When you look at the map, it's not littered with icons, it's not littered with a to-do list. I mean, you can do little side objectives in the main missions, which are like, I don't know, say air assassinate a certain target, but that's just stuff that you can just do. It doesn't force you to do it. It doesn't feel like you're doing a chore list in this game when you play it with a side quest. It just feels good to do. The exploration's organic and it just all feels great. And if you haven't played it, Black Flag is just still an immensely good game, and I just wish we could get it again. And well, we probably are, because that is the rumor that it is getting remade. But and that's still rumor, by the way, at the time of recording this. But yeah, it's still a great game. So yeah, and that's it really. Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag is still one of my favorite games in the series. As I said before, it has a concise, small open world for you to explore with great detail, great characters, including the protagonist Edward Kenway. Combat that's fun with both on foot and in the ship, and just overall, it's just a great experience. And I just feel like it was like the last of its era from that time period, where we got like a decent open world game, but it didn't feel overwhelming before. Well, I think it came out after GTA 5 actually, where every game after that kind of was just trying to copy Grand Theft Auto 5 with like massive open world, loads to do. But a lot of those games lost the focus from that sort of period. And I just wish Ubisoft would go back to that formula. And I've just been playing older games in general recently, just because a lot of new releases I've just not been interested in. A lot of them look the same. They're trying to be open world, or they're trying to be live service, that sort of thing. And just playing older platforms. And I've been genuinely enjoyed revisiting Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. And being able to talk to you about it here on YouTube has been great as well. And I want to do more of these videos where I talk about older games, because I feel a lot of younger people should experience a lot of these older games, because a lot of these older games are also quite widely available on newer platforms as well, through backwards compatibility or whatever. Like Assassin's Creed 4, you could play it on lots of things. I mean, you can play it on the PS4, the Xbox One, which are also playable on the PS5/Series X. So yeah, and it's also really cheap. It's always on sale. So yeah, if you want to play it, highly recommend it. But thank you very much for watching. I'll stop rambling and taking up your time, and hope you like and subscribe. Leave me a comment if you played Assassin's Creed 4 before. Leave me a comment if you haven't, if you want to give it a go. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all later. See you later. Bye.